The soothing drone of Nova Empyrean Station's life support abruptly gave way to shrieking klaxons. Emergency lights flooded corridors in a stark, crimson hue, turning the once tranquil halls into a maze of panic. Speaker Rollin imposing Velsine, his metallic-tinted carapace catching the red glow burst into the command hub, ceremonial robes fluttering behind him like storm clouds. "Report," he barked, his usually resonant voice clipped by urgency. A young Taluru officer, feathers trembling in alarm, replied, "Multiple unidentified ships, Speaker. They appeared without warning, bypassed every one of our detection nets." The station's main view screen flickered to show a fleet of unfamiliar starships, all angular geometry and gunmetal plating, bristling with what looked like advanced weaponry. Ral's multifaceted eyes widened. "Stars above. How did they slip past our perimeter?" Before anyone could answer, an urgent communication alert flared on screen. Ral hesitated, then accepted it. The display shifted to show a determined face, unmistakably human. Her uniform bore insignia never before seen in these sectors. "This is Admiral Jade Knight of the United Terran Alliance," the woman said, voice firm. "We come in peace, but we request an immediate audience with the Nova Empyrean Council. The fate of this region is at stake." A ripple of shock coursed through the gathered aliens. Humans considered half-myth, rumored to hail from a vicious death world, had arrived in the heart of council space. Trying to quell his surprise, Speaker Ral offered a formal nod. "I am Speaker Ral. We had no announcement of contact with humanity." Admiral Knight's stare never wavered. "This isn't a diplomatic courtesy call, Speaker. We have critical intel to share, vital to every species aboard your station. Will you listen, or shall we take our warning elsewhere?" The Velsine leader noted her unwavering tone and exchanged a glance with his uneasy officers. "Very well. We shall convene an urgent council session, but your ships must keep a respectful distance." A faint smile tugged at Knight's lips. "You have our word. Our delegation will arrive within the hour." The transmission ended. The station command center erupted into clamorous-believing whispers and shouted orders alike. The thought of legendary humans arriving and bearing dire warnings stirred mingled terror and intrigue. Suddenly, a baritone voice cut through the uproar like a blade. "I will take charge here." All eyes turned to see Commander Kador of the Dracovites, a towering reptilian figure nearly 3 meters tall. His gray hide was sheathed in natural plating marred by countless battle scars. Among council species, the Dracovites were the only ones born to a world as hostile as Earth was rumored to be. Their unmatched physical prowess had made them the Council's de facto peacekeepers. Ral exhaled in relief. "Commander Kador, your expertise with untested species will be invaluable here." Kador's leathery brow furrowed. "We will see if the humans truly warrant the legends of their savage homeworld." For the next hour, Nova Empyrean Station braced itself. Security ramped up. Civilians retreated to safe zones. In the primary hangar bay, Commander Kador assembled a formidable reception squad, Dracovite warriors, intermixed with soldiers from several other species. When the human shuttle finally emerged from the Terran fleet, everyone in the bay watched with rapt attention. The craft's sleek lines and precise maneuvering spoke volumes about its builder's technical prowess. Then its ramp hissed open, revealing Admiral Knight compact in stature compared to Kador, but emanating authority. Gleaming metals adorned her dark blue uniform, testaments to a lifetime of military campaigns. Flanking her were 2 men, Envoy Paulo Reyes, older, with silver-threaded hair and sharp diplomatic eyes, and Major Elias Grant, powerfully built, a sidearm holstered at his hip. Kador strode forward, towering over them. "I am Commander Kador of the Dracovites. You arrive unannounced, bearing weapons. Justify yourselves." Without missing a beat, Knight met Kador's reptilian gaze. "We had no choice but to come swiftly. The threat we face leaves no room for formalities. This is Envoy Reyes and Major Grant. We represent the United Terran Alliance, and we've come to warn you of a looming danger." Kador's eyes narrowed. "What makes you believe we cannot handle our own security?" Knight's voice was cool. "Because we've already fought them, Commander, and we barely survived." A hush fell across the bay. The visiting humans, however, did not seem rattled. Their stance suggested they had stared down worse horrors than an angry Dracovite or a suspicious council. "Very well," Kador finally rumbled. "I will escort you to address the council. But remember, if this is deception, Your warships will not protect you from our wrath. Knight inclined her head. Understood, Commander. The humans were led through corridors thronged with curious onlookers. Some huddled in fear, while others craned forward in wide-eyed fascination. Envoy Reyes nodded politely at each alien, striving to project goodwill. Major Grant, for his part, kept scanning for threats, his soldiers' instincts on high alert. At last, they reached the Grand Assembly Chamber, a circular hall flanked by ornate seating. At the center stood an elaborate holographic display, rotating with the Council's sigil. Speaker Rawl rose. Esteemed delegates, an unprecedented moment. Humanity, long thought to be rumor, has come bearing warnings of a grave menace. Admiral Knight stepped to the holographic projector. Thank you, Speaker. I'll be concise. We hail from the United Terran Alliance. Our first contact with alien life came when we were attacked by a race called the Draxi. She signaled to Major Grant, who inserted a small data device into the projector. Instantly, a grotesque living mechanical ship materialized in holoform. These are Draxi vessels, Knight continued, biomechanical terrors driven by conquest. They invaded our colony on the planet Horizon, expecting minimal resistance. They were wrong, but the cost in human lives was catastrophic. The display shifted. Scorching battlefields, broken ships, cities in ruin, monstrous Draxi creatures. The delegates murmured in horror. We discovered proof they planned to sweep through these sectors, the Admiral concluded. Your worlds, your people, all vulnerable to their assimilation. We came to warn you and to stand at your side. A firestorm of arguments followed. Some delegates demanded to mobilize at once. Others insisted the humans might be twisting the truth as a means to infiltrate the Council. Through it all, Commander Kador remained silent, studying every detail. Eventually, his deep rumble filled the room. I have faced apex predators on my homeworld. I know the look of those who have battled nightmares and survived. These humans are telling the truth. The hall quieted. Speaker Rawl refocused on Knight. Admiral, your story is alarming. We have never even heard of these. Draxi, how can we be sure your motives are benign? Envoy Reyes answered in a soothing, firm tone. Because if we intended harm, we wouldn't share our most guarded intel so freely. We had our first taste of galactic war. We don't want another. Not for us, and not for any of you. A tense silence filled the chamber. At last, Speaker Rawl turned again to Kador. Commander, your verdict? Kador's plated brow furrowed. Their technology is advanced, their tactics unorthodox. If their warnings prove true, rejecting their help would be sheer folly. Rawl swallowed hard. Very well, Admiral Knight. The Council shall consider your alliance request. For the moment, your delegation is welcome, under strict watch. Knight inclined her head. Thank you, Speaker. I just hope we have enough time. A piercing alarm tore through the Council's deliberations. A voice crackled over station-wide comms. Unknown vessels decloaking, they're launching fighters. Instant chaos. Security bolted into action, diplomats scattered. Kador and Knight locked eyes. Grant turned to Knight. They're here sooner than we thought, Admiral. Knight nodded, grim. Commander, either arrest us or let us help, but choose fast. Kador bared his teeth in a Dracovite approximation of a grin. We fight side by side, human. Show me what you can do. As they sprinted to the command center, the station shook under bombardment. Through viewports, they glimpsed the new arrivals, the same twisted Draxi bioships Knight had shown in her holobut, now very, very real. The Council's meager defenses were sorely overmatched. Speaker Rawl, frantic, tried to coordinate a defense. We've never faced such aggression. Our patrol craft are already in disarray. Knight marched to the central console. This is no raid, Speaker. The Draxi kill, harvest, and move on. No diplomacy, only annihilation. Kador flexed his claws. In the name of the Council, humans, we will stand with you. What's the plan? In reply, Knight turned to Grant. Major, load the Eclipse protocol. Time to level the playing field. Almost at once, out of the star-strewn darkness, a dozen Terran ships uncloaked behind the Draxi forces. In perfect unison, they unleashed a synchronized electromagnetic pulse. The alien craft, once wreathed in shimmering stealth, flickered into stark visibility, revealing their organic metal hulls for the first time. A collective gasp swept the Council. Kador's voice held grudging admiration. Your stealth was advanced enough to fool not only them but us. Project Eclipse, Knight confirmed, watching the readouts. We designed it specifically to counter Draxi cloak tech. Now they're blind to our movements. Strike, Khador roared, and so began the Allied counteroffensive. Council frigates hammered the Draxi front lines, while Terran cruisers decimated any vessel struggling to regain camouflage. For a moment, hope surged, but the Draxi adapted quickly, bombarding the station and forcing defensive maneuvers. Speaker Ral, overseeing from the ops console, gripped the edge so hard his knuckles turned pale. This is unimaginable carnage. We must retreat. Knight spun to face him. If the Council falls back, your entire station and your leadership become easy prey. Hold the line, Speaker. Let us finish this. With that, she gave new orders, dispatching half the Terran fleet on a flanking maneuver. The Draxi formation wavered, pinned between two fires. Explosions lit the void, shrapnel drifting like deadly confetti. Finally, the battered invaders began to pull back. Over the comm, static-laced cheers erupted among Council defenders. But Knight's expression remained grim. They'll return, she said, and next time they'll be twice as determined. In the aftermath, the Council weighed humanity's words. With Khador's urging, they agreed to send a recon strike team human and Dracovite Specialisto, a rumored Draxi base, hidden within a toxic nebula known as the Ascendant Rim. Major Grant led the Terran side. Infiltration expert Lieutenant Adele Delgado, demolitions guru Sergeant Akari Chen, tech specialist Corporal Miko Finch, and sharpshooter Private Ross Vega. Khador appointed Sub-Commander Jurat, a Dracovite warrior of colossal build and legendary repute. Their stealth corvette departed Nova Empyrean Station, under cover of swirling cosmic debris. The Ascendant Rim glowed with energies that twisted sensors into knots. Strange radiation flares cast ghostly shadows. Corporal Finch's console beeped an alarm. "Major, I'm detecting bizarre power spikes, like living gravitational wells. Could be the Draxi base." They navigated deeper into veils of shimmering gas. Then, an unholy vision came into view. A gigantic structure fusing metal spires and chitinous plating, pulsing with warped light. Sergeant Chen let out a low whistle. "Never seen anything like it. It's alive." Jurat growled. "We destroy it then. Dracovites do not fear mortal monstrosities." Grant gripped the co-pilot's seat. "First, we gather intel, then we purge it." The Corvette slipped into a docking passage that yawned open like a fang-lined maw. Inside, the walls seemed to breathe, festooned with pulsating tubes carrying green-blue fluids. The recon team donned suits for unknown biosignatures. Finch scanned the corridor. "Atmosphere is rancid, but technically breathable. I'm picking up motion. Lots of it." "Eyes open," Grant ordered. They crept forward, discovering nightmarish nurseries with embryonic Draxi forms gestating in fluid sacs. They passed conduits that crackled with both energy and neural impulses. Following the strongest energy readings, they reached a cavernous chamber, the base's nerve center. Twisted lumps of organic metal served as terminals, each manned by more advanced Draxi drones. At the core, a towering overseer entity interfaced directly with the station's living walls, hissing in an alien tongue that buzzed in their very skulls. Finch hurried to splice into the terminal, carefully bridging Terran tech with the bizarre alien systems. "If I can copy their data, we'll know what they're planning." Alarms shrieked. The Draxi overseer sensed the intrusion. Waves of drones scuttled from every tunnel, shrieking. Jurat and Grant formed a firing line with Delgado and Vega, laying down a storm of plasma rounds and kinetic slugs. Sergeant Chen tossed improvised grenades, blazing an escape route. Finch feverishly typed, "Almost got it there." She tore out the data crystal. "We have everything." "Then we leave," Grant shouted. "Go." They fought a running battle back to the Corvette, realizing how outnumbered they were. Sub-Commander Jurat whirled. "I will hold them off. Go, humans." Grant's eyes widened. "No, we can." But the Dracovite's enormous claws clutched a scavenged Draxi cannon. "Honor demands it. My life for your success." A final nod passed between Thema soldiers' silent respect. Jurat charged into the fray, roaring defiance. Grant's team scrambled aboard. Chen slammed the hatch shut. As they launched away, the last glimpse of Jurat was his massive figure swarmed by screeching nightmares. Then an explosion rocked the hangar. Jurat had triggered a chain reaction among the Draxi spawn pods, buying them precious seconds. The corvette speared through the nebula, evading tendrils of living defense turrets. Delgado coaxed the engines to the brink, and at last they broke free into open space. "We have to see what's on that crystal," Grant muttered, chest heaving. Back at Nova Empyrean Station, Admiral Knight and Commander Kador listened grimly to the infiltration team's report. The data Finch retrieved projected a horrifying scenario. The Draxi intended to transform entire star systems into biomechanical hives, using the nebula's exotic energy to power a wave of assimilation. Speaker Rawl stared at the holomap. "How can we possibly stop such monstrous technology?" Knight's voice was resolute. "By striking first, hard. We take our combined fleets to the Ascendant Rim. We dismantle that base and the fleet defending it before they complete their conversion protocols." Council delegates squabbled. Was it too risky? Had they enough forces? Kador's guttural tone cut through the debate. "Since the dawn of Dracovites, we have never turned from a worthy fight. If the Terrans will lead, we will follow." That sealed it. Within hours, a massive coalition fleet assembled. Velsine cruisers, Talaru corvettes, Dracovite assault ships, and the formidable Terran armada. They jumped to the rim, determined to meet the Draxi on their own territory. The swirling energies of the nebula parted to reveal a colossal Draxi mothership, larger than anything even the Terrans had encountered. A nest of lesser bioships orbited it in a protective cordon. Aboard the flagship Vanguard, Knight commanded via alliance-wide comms. "All vessels, adopt attack formation Tetra-2. Focus on the mothership's main conduits. Cripple the power feeds, and their fleet collapses." The battle erupted in spectacular fury. Council ships bombarded from long range while Terran capital ships charged in with heavily shielded hulls. Dracovite destroyers tore open bioship flanks in close-quarter assaults. But the Draxi mothership retaliated with planet-shattering cannons that spanned half its length. Each shot tore through star cruisers and scattered entire wings of fighters. Flames and twisted debris littered the void. Morale quaked. Some Allied ships began falling back. On the Vanguard's bridge, Knight saw the tide turning. "We need a final blow," she murmured. "Grant, do you read me?" His voice came back from a battered gunship, loud and clear. "We're en route to board that mothership from a breach we opened near its ventral array." "Just like last time?" Knight asked, a flicker of hope in her eyes. Grant paused. "Worse, but we have no other choice." Grant's boarding team diminished after the infiltration mission threaded their way past flailing tendrils and lethal plasmic flak. Their battered gunship docked inside a ruptured section of the mothership's hull. Fighting inch by inch, they planted high-yield charges at critical junctions. All around them, living corridors pulsed with the monstrous intelligence commanding the Draxi. The mental pressure was immense, whispering offers of assimilation, illusions of unstoppable might. Yet the combined determination of humans, Dracovites, and newly allied species had grown unbreakable in the face of annihilation. With unwavering purpose, the team set the final detonators. Grant slammed the last trigger. "Charges armed. 45 seconds to meltdown," Delgado reported, voice shaking. "We have to run." They barely made it back to the gunship, launching just as everything behind them detonated in a chain reaction of biomechanical meltdown. From the vantage of the Allied fleet, the mothership center imploded, dragging adjoining vessels into the conflagration. One apocalyptic blast later, the entire Draxi formation collapsed. Silence fell across the nebula. Wreckage drifted, lifeless. Allied vessels hovered in battered ranks, stunned by victory. Cheers broke out. In a swirl of static, Admiral Knight's voice resonated through the comm frequencies. "We did it. The Draxi threat is crushed." In the wake of that final explosion, salvage and rescue operations began. The cost was staggering, countless casualties from across the species. Yet unity had prevailed, forging a bond stronger than any treaty. Days later, aboard Nova Empyrean Station, the Council assembled in triumphant urgency. The newly arrived delegates represented every star-faring civilization that had taken part in the operation. Speaker Rawl stood at the podium, scarred but resolute. "Beings of the Ascendant Rim," he began, voice carrying an echo of relief. We have achieved what once seemed impossible. We have repelled a galactic menace, and we could not have done so without our latest allies, humanity. An echoing burst of applause, in myriad alien forms, filled the chamber. Nearby, Commander Kador stood like a stone pillar, only nodding in recognition. Rahl continued, "In acknowledgement of their valor and dedication to preserving life despite their own losses, we propose full membership for the United Terran Alliance in the Nova Empyrean Council." The vote was unanimous. Major Grant, eyes still haunted by battle, exchanged a grateful glance with Knight. Envoy Reyes accepted the official documents, voice thick with emotion. "On behalf of Earth, we are honored. Let this be the start of a new era, where our combined strength shield this galaxy from any threat." That night, the station's concourse overflowed with an impromptu celebration, Dracovites roaring victory chants alongside Terran pilots, Velsines singing war ballads in harmony with Taluru dancers. All under the ephemeral glow of star-washed windows, the galaxy itself seeming to join in the revelry. Grant found himself momentarily alone, staring at the endless stars beyond. So many had died. So much of the galaxy remained scarred by the Draxi. Yet, for the first time, there was Unida's raw, hopeful spark that might save countless worlds from future horrors. Admiral Knight joined him, silent for a moment. Then she asked softly, "Where do we go from here?" Grant inhaled. "Rebuild, help the species the Draxi ravaged, prepare for tomorrow's threats, and, maybe, explore. There's so much out there beyond war." Knight offered a small, proud smile. "We've taken our first real step into the cosmos as allies, not conquerors. The future is bright, Major." Together, they watched transport vessels, cruisers, and gunships from dozens of worlds orbit the station in a strangely graceful dance. Each represented a promise of cooperation, a vow never to let galactic horrors catch them unprepared again. Somewhere out there, new nightmares or wonders might lie in wait, but humanity no longer alone, and the Nova Empyrean Council would be ready.